The regime of Saddam Hussein for many years before it fell was known for its evil, brutality and horror. Many people disappeared, becoming victims of his torturers and security forces. After the Ba'athist Party came to prominence, there was a regime of terror brought to Iraq, and even Saddam's sons got involved in the slaughter. The dictatorship was brought crashing down with the US-led invasion of the country, and Saddam would be captured by US forces. The Americans were given a set of playing cards to help them identify high-value targets and those who were the most wanted. But one woman who was subjected to a horrific ordeal by the men of Saddam Hussein's tortured attachments was Amina Al-Sadr, a teacher and political activist who was subjected to a terrifying death. She was condemned for her opposition to Saddam's regime, and her story had a harrowing end. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Amina Al-Sadr was born in 1937 inside of Iraq, and as a young woman, she realised the importance of reading and learning. She began to write herself, and she later became the leader of the women's branch of the Islamic Dawa Party. She produced publications for the group, and at the age of 14 she recited her first poem at the funeral of her uncle. She began to work in the community helping others, and she later began a girls' school in Kazmain in Iraq. Here the students learned Islamic teachings which were supervised by Amina. She continued to write for different magazines and was very much aware that many inside of Iraq and other nations, especially women, were suffering, and that different disasters were damaging religion in her country. She became a speaker for thousands of young Iraqi women who could not express their opinions and voices, and she continued to write many books. But lots of these works had themes relating to the struggles that women in Iraq had. But Amina Al-Sadr did not want to be a celebrity, and she refused to use her real name inside of her books, instead using the name Bint al-Huda. But inside of Iraq, the regime of Saddam Hussein was rising to power, and he was establishing a one-party, one-ruler dictatorship across the nation. Saddam did this through brutality, and those who opposed him were often dragged into Iraqi prisons and were tortured. Many were even executed for their resistance to the new regime. Amina's brother was arrested by Saddam Hussein's forces, and after this she ran into a local mosque and screamed, "Oh people, why are you silent whilst your leader has been arrested? Why are you silent while your leader is in prison being tortured? Come out and demonstrate." These words led to many hundreds of people joining a mass protest against the arrest of her brother, and they demanded his immediate release from prison. However, Saddam Hussein would not relent, and he decided to bring in a program to eliminate the Islamic movement inside of Iraq altogether. In March 1980, the Revolutionary Command Council passed a new law, sentencing many people to death. However, on the 6th of April 1980, Amina Al-Sadr was arrested by Saddam's forces. She defiantly said to the security forces that, "It is a great honour that you have arrested me, you cowardly bullies, the which is vain and useless. If you had any courage at all, you would have come in the light of day, and not in the middle of the night." Amina Al-Sadr was transferred to the Ministry of Defence, and she was locked up in prison. Her brother, being a religious leader, was also seized, and the association that Amina had with him became very dangerous. There are different accounts and reports about the execution and killing of Amina. One says that at midnight on the 8th of April 1980, a group of special police arrived in 3 cars, and they warned that the body of Amina was already inside one of them. She had allegedly been tortured to death, being battered and brutalised. What was probably the course of action was that upon the orders of Saddam Hussein, Amina Al-Sadr was tortured to death and was brutalised and battered. It was claimed that her hands had been burned and her scalp had been peeled, and that the hands and feet of her had been crushed and badly lacerated. Amina had a horrific end and a barbaric ordeal where she was beaten to death by Saddam's men. There have been other reports also that Saddam himself even executed her, possibly shooting her or administering the death blow. He was later asked about the death of Amina, and he was concerned about sparing those who had dissented against him, and the fact they could cause revolts which would destabilise his regime. Whether Saddam Hussein executed Amina al-Sadr himself, or whether his forces were told to do so on his instruction, the Iraqi dictator had a direct involvement in the slaughter and death of her. It was a sign of the next few decades of rule inside of Iraq, as Saddam tightened his stranglehold over the country and nation. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.